Welcome to this buyer presentation training, your step-by-step playbook for mastering the modern buyer experience from first contact to closing day. So what are we doing today? I'm going to walk you through exactly how to deliver a world-class buyer consultation that not only earns trust, but earns commitment. So why does this matter now more than ever? Well, because today's buyers are savvier, more independent, and more cautious than ever. They've done their homework. And if you don't show up as a professional with a process, they'll move on to someone who does. This isn't just about being likable. It's about leading with value. So what's in it for you? Well, you're going to leave this session with a proven roadmap, the exact language to use in each phase, and tools that build instant authority. Templates, forms, etiquette scripts, all of it is here. And every piece is designed to help you confidently guide your buyers from just browsing to let's write it up. How will we get there? Simple. I'm going to walk you through the full strategy, starting with the discovery call, through the in-person presentation, and all the way to closing day. Using real buyer resources and real-world examples you can immediately make your own. So let's raise the standard and show buyers what true professionalism really is. Hello, and welcome to Fundamentals Factory, Mastering the Buyer Presentation. This video is part 1. Now, there's going to be a lot of context on this presentation, so make sure you have your notebook ready, take screenshots, and there's also going to be a downloadable toolkit for you with this presentation. But there's going to be a lot of information, so feel free to pause, screenshot, take notes, all that good stuff. First, we're going to go over the what, why, now, and how. So this is your guide to mastering the modern buyer experience from start to finish. So what? Well, I'm going to walk you through the entire buyer presentation from the first contact to closing day, using tools that elevate your language, your process, and also help elevate your confidence. Why? Because, well, buyers are savvier more than ever and also independent. So this presentation helps you stand out, show your value, and protect your time and energy. Now, well, you'll leave with a proven roadmap, exact language to use, and a professional flow that earns buyer commitment. How? We'll use my real templates, a buyer roadmap, what forms to use, certain etiquette tips, and more. Plus, you'll get Canva-ready worksheets you can brand to yourself and start using immediately. All right, so let's get going. So the first thing you're going to do when you have a potential buyer client is you want to do a discovery call. Now, the steps I'm going to go over, it's not always going to be like this. Sometimes schedules get in the way. Sometimes they want to meet you at the house first. Although that isn't ideal, sometimes we just have to roll with it. So everything I'm going to go over today is kind of in a perfect world situation, okay? So I don't want to meet someone at the house first because it kind of just goes straight to business instead of working on the trust between client and agent. What I want to do first is a quick discovery call, okay? This can be on the phone or on Zoom, and this shouldn't go past 15 minutes, okay? So the purpose, this is a qualifying call. You're getting to know your buyer, what their goals are, their criteria. You're confirming that they're ready and motivated. And I said criteria, and I don't mean a full-blown criteria match. We just want to start collecting information. Okay, so think of this as a vibe check. It's info gathering. So what happens? Well, ask questions about their timeline, their budget, and if they're working with the lender. Listen to their goals and motivation for buying. Gauge their readiness. So are they just browsing or are they actually ready to make a move within the next 30 days? Determine if it makes sense to move to a full-blown strategy session. So the outcome, if they are serious, you invite them to the next step, a strategy session. If they're not ready for the step, you want to determine how they fit and where they fit into your CRM with a drip campaign so you can keep in touch with them. So let's assume this buyer's ready for a strategy call. Now, this is going to be about 30 to 45 minutes long. On that first discovery call, I let them know that that is the next step. We have to remember we are the guide and the professional, and most buyers want us to do just that, guide them through the process. So I never go to another step with them without informing them what the step is and what they can expect. So after discovery call, I'm going to get some time on the calendar and determine what the best time is for a strategy call. And then I let them know the purpose of that call. And the purpose of the strategy call is to do a deep dive into their goals, right? While I show them my value on how I can help them in this home buying process. You're starting to build trust and position yourself as their advisor during this strategy call. And this should be Zoom, okay? So what happens in this Zoom call? Well, you want to go over a buyer questionnaire, and I have a wonderful template that we're going to go over later in this presentation. You're going to talk through market conditions so they know what to expect if they're entering the home buying process today. Introduce your process. You're not going over in detail, but you can do a brief overview of your buyer roadmap. You're going to answer any initial questions they have and set expectations for next step. So the outcome is you schedule an in-person meeting to do the full buyer presentation and to go over agency documents like a buyer brokerage representation agreement, for example, and a duties owed. So the next step, an in-person buyer presentation. This can be in your office, in a conference room, at a coffee shop, whatever is easiest for both you and your client. And this can take up to 60 minutes, and it actually should because we're going over so much information with them. And the purpose of this is a commitment meeting. You're asking for their business at this point, okay? They're signing a BBRA and fully walking through the buyer process. So what happens in this meeting? Well, you're going to do a full in-depth breakdown of a buyer roadmap. You're going to go over your duties owed and a buyer broker representation agreement. You're going to review buyer etiquette during showings. For example, we let our buyers know most sellers have security cameras in the house, so we don't want to be negotiating in the house or having any strong critiques or criticism because we know those sellers are watching the video footage. We're going to map out timelines, neighborhoods, and create a showing plan for them. And we're going to build confidence in our process and in our role, okay? So the outcome is they sign on as your buyer client and you start the search together. Now, again, in a perfect world, we go through step 1, 2, and 3. Sometimes you go straight to number 3. Sometimes you go from 1 to 3. And sometimes it goes from 2 to 3. So make it work. If you can get all 3 of these steps in, even better, because this is your opportunity for your client to gain trust in you as their real estate professional. So here's some buyer resources and when to share them. So during your consultation, you'll reference other helpful tools, even if you don't cover them in detail. Now, the reason I brought that last part up, even if you don't cover them in detail, is we have to remember who's in the room with us. If you are familiar with the DISC profile, if I have someone who's a high D, a very dominant personality, doesn't like fluff, doesn't like small talk necessarily, I need to go straight to the point, okay? And show them what the outcome is fairly quickly. If I have someone who's a high C on that DISC profile, meaning they need a lot of detailed information before making a decision and the decision to sign on with me, I may have to bring out these marketing materials and go over them in detail. So I'm a big believer in being prepared for all types of personalities. There's times my consultations are 90 minutes. There's times where they're 30 to 45 minutes. It depends on who I have in front of me. So you want to make sure you're mirroring and matching your client's energy and their pace to make them feel comfortable. Okay? But one thing I always have with me prepared, ready to go, is a home buyer's guide. This is a nice brochure with details on each step of the home buying journey. So when to share it, right after or during the consultation. Here's how you can say it. Here's a copy of my home buyer's guide. It walks you through every stage of the process from financing to closing day. It's yours to read anytime. So if I'm running out of time or I feel that they're disinterested and they don't need this information, I'm simply letting them know It's yours to read anytime. You got to take this home with you. I also have an FAQ sheet, so common questions and answers. I share it right after or during the consultation. And here's how I say it. Hey, in your packet, I've also included a frequently asked questions guide that covers common concerns like earnest money deposits, timelines, and what to expect during inspections. You don't need to read it now, but it's a great resource to look over when you do have the time. These extras support your value, provide clarity, and show professionalism without needing to review every detail during the meeting. And people love to walk away with a packet full of goodies. Okay, this is one of my favorite forms to get to know my clients, and it's called the buyer questionnaire, and it's used to build a rapport with them. So it's a branded intake form capturing lifestyle needs and personal preferences from them. I typically send this out to them prior to our meeting, and I have them fill it out. It establishes professionalism and personal connection beyond just showing homes. It shows I care. I'm asking really fun questions on this questionnaire. It reveals markers and priorities and creates emotional connection from first contact. So you can send this digitally beforehand, or if you don't have that opportunity, you can bring it to your buyer consultation and fill it out with them. And here's an example of what it looks like. So I have a cover page because it's branded for me, and then I have 3 pages. I have questions simple as your full name, if they have nicknames, they have children, pets, and it's the little things that make a difference. So if they have a pet named Rookie, when we go to a house and I see a doggy door, the first thing I'm going to say is, would Rookie fit through this doggy door? And it's showing I care and it shows I listen. Okay? I ask who will be on the loan. That's a very important part that I need to understand who's going to go on my residential purchase agreement, what their full occupations are. One of my favorites is their coffee order. So every time I do a showing, the first showing, I bring their coffee order, and it's meaningful. It shows I care. It shows I listen, and they love it. It's just that little extra sugar on top, my friends. Okay. I also ask what areas of town they're looking to buy in. What do they like about those areas? How many bedrooms and bathrooms and square footage? What style of home are they interested? Single story, 2-story, etc. What are the top 5 most important things for them in this home buying process? And if there's anything else we should keep in mind during the home buying process. Then I also have a needs versus wants sheet. Someone could want a swimming pool, but they don't need it. Someone could need a 4th bedroom. Okay, so this is kind of where you decipher any deal breakers they may have. And if they put a laundry list under needs and your search online only shows 2 homes, we may be able to pluck a couple of those out of the needs and put them into the want category to expand their search. And I let them know that's the purpose of doing that. All right, we're going to take a break, and in part 2, we're going to go over the buyer roadmap and how to explain each section to your client. All right, let's jump into part 2 of mastering the buyer presentation. And in part 2, we are primarily going to focus on explaining the buyer roadmap. Now, when we go over the buyer roadmap, which is here it is on screen, the idea is on each section to insert our value. So I want you to think of it like this. When you finish your buyer presentation, you want the client to think, I would be silly not to work with Valerie, right? She showed how she's going to help me during each milestone of this process. And this is what's going to set you apart. Now, what I mentioned in part 1, depending on who you're sitting in front of, you may not need to hit every single milestone on this journey. If they're a first-time home buyer, you absolutely should, for example, because this is all new to them. It's a completely new vocabulary. So understand who's in front of you and let that be your guide on how you're handling this buyer roadmap. But I'm excited to jump in on showing you how you can show your value with each milestone. Okay, so we're going to start with the first one, okay, which is buyer representation and initial interview. On the roadmap, it says, understand what your clients are looking for, their must-haves, and how you will help them through the process. So meet to understand the buyer's goals, needs, and timeline. It builds trust, clarity, and rapport. Schedule this when you've qualified a motivated buyer, and use your buyer questionnaire, which we went over in part 1, plus any roadmap visuals. So here's how we present this when we're sitting in front of them. Really quick, I'm going to take a step back. We need to be masters on reading this page upside down. Unless you're using a presentation screen, if you have the physical paper on the table and they're sitting across from you, they're reading it and you're looking at it upside down. So to look like a pro, you want to make sure you can do this upside down. Okay, so what we're doing right now, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, this conversation, well, it's the most important step. It's where I get to understand your goals, your lifestyle, and what matters most to you. This isn't about selling you a home. It's about partnering with you to make a confident, educated decision. And I'm here to guide you every step of the way. All right, if we go to buyer roadmap, and now we're into show properties. So once your client knows their purchasing power, it's time to look at properties. We expect you not to like the first few houses we see, but we'll find your perfect fit. So tour homes matching their criteria. It sharpens their vision and moves them closer to a decision once they've been pre-approved, and set up a personalized home search and prep for each tour. So how to present it? Well, make it fun for them. This is such a fun process for a lot of people. So this is where you can tell them, listen, when it comes to showing properties, this is the exciting part. But I always tell my clients, don't be discouraged if the first few homes aren't perfect. We're dialing in your preferences. So what you're doing at this stage of the game, my friends, is you're setting the proper expectations. Because it is super common we don't fall in love with the first or second home review. We review, but hold tight, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. This is what I do for a living, and I know we're going to find you the right one. Okay? So now we're going to writing the offer. The buyer roadmap says, after doing a professional assessment of value, I will put together a strategy to help you secure this home. I want you to use that language from here on out. Professional assessment of value. Most agents will say, and this is where I pull comps. People don't know what comps mean. We know it's a comparative market analysis, but even if I were to spell out the acronym, they most likely still don't know what it means. So instead, I want you to phrase it as professional assessment of value. You're showing your value by doing this, my friends, okay? Craft a strategic offer based on value and leverage. This is where I negotiate and protect your best interest. We do market research plus strong terms, and that's what's going to give us the edge. So how to present this section of the roadmap? Well, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, when you do find the right home, this is where I go into strategic mode. I'll provide a professional assessment of value, evaluate the seller's motivation, and craft an offer that gives you leverage, not stress. Every term matters. Price, timing, credits, inclusions, and I walk you through each piece so we can make smart, confident decisions together. I don't just write the offer, I fight for it. So you guys can take this language, make it your own, or keep it exactly the way it is. I want to reiterate, what I'm doing here with you is showing you how you can add your value during each milestone. So I don't just write offers. I provide a professional assessment of values. I figure out to the best of my ability what the seller's motivation is, right? I figure out if there's any leverage for us to make sure you get the right price, you get the right pricing and terms. Okay? All right, let's move on. Now we have negotiations. This is my personal favorite. So we may be required to negotiate with the sellers in order to reach an accepted offer. As your real estate professional, I will guide you through this process. So it's back and forth communication to agree on terms. I protect your interests and potentially can save you money. This usually happens during inspections, appraisal, or any time that terms may need adjusting. So here's how to present it. Listen, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, negotiation is where I go to work for you. I'll fight for the best possible terms, price, repairs, even potential closing cost, while keeping the deal moving forward. You'll have someone in your corner every step of the way. Now, you can elaborate on what your negotiation practice looks like. I typically tell my buyers and my sellers what my negotiation tactics are. So if you don't know what it is, you want to think hard about it, write down what you are naturally good at, and start creating a value prop around your negotiation skills. A few of mine are my professionalism and steady hand keeps deals together. So what I tell my clients is I don't rely on overreactions, whether it's for me or the agent on the other side. I have a strong sense of stability in how I negotiate, and I'm a firm believer in collaboration to get us to the finish line, right? So you want to start creating your value prop around how you negotiate, what your best practices are, and sometimes your clients will ask you what these things are, so you want to be prepared. Contract accepted. So this is when an offer becomes a legally binding agreement. It launches the formal buying process. It happens immediately after acceptance. Then we send docs to the lender, open escrow, and begin scheduling inspection. So here's a fun way to present it. Miss Buyer, this is where the real work begins. From the second we go under contract, I take over the timeline. I coordinate with your lender, title, inspections, and the listing agent to keep everything on track. This is the phase where most deals fall apart, but not mine. I like to stay 5 steps ahead to protect your money, your deadlines, and your peace of mind. So I hope you guys are realizing how I'm going to make this buyer feel. They'd be silly not to work with me. When I present it like this, they're going, oh my gosh, I wouldn't want to do this on my own or with an agent who doesn't know what they're doing, right? But it is my job to show them this during this buyer presentation. Now we go into home inspections, right? So it's a professional check for safety and concern, helps make informed decisions. Within 10 calendar days of a contract is when we typically do this home inspection. We hire a licensed inspector to attend the inspection and review report. Here's a quick way to how to present it. I can connect you with trusted inspectors, handle the scheduling, and walk the property with you. Together, we'll review the findings and separate deal breakers from normal wear and tear so you feel confident about what comes next. Now, let's take this a step forward. Here's what I do in my buyer presentations. I actually print out one of my very scary past home inspection reports that's about this thick. And I bring that to my buyer presentation. So when I get to this part of the roadmap, home inspections, I hand it over to them, let them feel it, let them flip through it. And that's where I start setting expectations. So Miss Buyer, I wanted to give you a preview of what to expect after our home inspector goes out and gives us a report. It is their job to find everything wrong with this home. So I don't want you to be alarmed when we get a report that's probably this amount of thickness. This is normal, and we see it in every house. This is not the time to renegotiate with the seller. This is so you, with eyes wide open, know and understand what you're purchasing. If we find big ticket items of health or safety concern, like broken windows, HVAC units not operating, any type of safety hazard, any visibility of mold, we will absolutely address those items with the seller. The seller does not have to say yes to these repairs. Okay, and depending on what state you live in, it might not be a requirement. In Nevada, homes technically are sold as is, which means the seller doesn't have an obligation. But if we are strategic about our ask from the seller, they may agree to it to keep the ball moving along. So you see what I did there, my friends? If we are strategic on what we ask the sellers, they may want to keep this ball rolling and say yes. Because what I don't want to happen is my buyer want to ask for 30 items, because what's going to happen with the seller? And I say this to my buyers too, because I represent sellers very often. Almost every time when we get a laundry list of items, the sellers get offended. They're upset. They may say, but we gave them $5,000 in closing costs. How dare they ask for these things? And now the seller is guarded and is shutting down. But if we focus on health and safety concerns, we can maybe get a better response from the seller. So set the expectation, because you don't want your buyer controlling the narrative, and now we're in a position where the seller's going to say no to us. We are here to help guide and educate our buyers, and everything I said right now holds true on what sellers feel when they get a laundry list, okay? All right, other contingencies, such as a sell contingency, would be addressed at this time. So address any special clauses like home sale or repair request. Ensures everyone meets agreed upon terms, mid-escrow or as negotiated, and review dates and proactively manage timelines. So whether it's a home sale contingency or a negotiated repair agreement, I will stay on top of every detail so you don't have to. My job is to make sure we meet the terms and move forward without stress. Again, you see how I'm inserting my value? If you hire me, I'm going to make sure there's no stress for you in this process. All right, mortgage and appraisal. Make sure your full mortgage application is complete with your lender and the appraisal is ordered, which ensures you're paying fair market value of the property. So loan approval and a property value check by your lender confirms you qualify and ensures a home is worth what you're paying for. Loan application is due early in escrow. Appraisal typically ordered within the first 5 to 7 days. So here's how we present this section to our buyers. I'm going to stay in close contact with your lender to track progress, follow up on timelines, and ensure the appraisal is completed on time. If anything comes in low or delayed, I'll guide you through the next steps with confidence and options. Underwriting. The underwriter's responsibility is to go through your file with a fine-tooth comb and everything is in order. This is a final review of your loan file by the lender before full approval. It confirms all documentation is verified and the loan meets guidelines. Begins after appraisal and lasts 5 to 10 business days. So here's how to present it. Underwriting is where the lender triple checks everything. I'll guide you through it and keep things moving behind the scenes so there are no surprises. Just smooth sailing to the finish line. I'll stay in touch with your lender to track conditions, help you respond quickly to document requests, and make sure we stay on track for a clear to close. My goal is to make this step feel seamless and stress-free. So in reality, the lender and their team is going to handle the bulk of this communication. But what I'm telling my buyer up front is I'm going to make sure I'm behind the scenes helping facilitate the communication between you and the underwriter. I'm checking in with the lender to make sure everything's okay and that we're ready to move forward. And if it's not, I'm going to make sure everything's communicated in a timely manner. Again, every step of this roadmap, I want them to think, I don't want to do this without this agent. Okay? All right, loan approval. Once the underwriter makes sure everything's in order, your loan is approved and funded. Real quick, I want to take a step back to underwriting. I help set the stage here for them because the reality is anyone going through the underwriting process with their financials, it is very, very intrusive. And I let them know that up front and remind them that if a bank is giving you $600,000, you better believe they are looking at all of your financial history and where things currently stand. Now, this can feel intrusive, but it's part of the process. Okay? All right. Loan approval. It's a final confirmation from your lender that you're approved and your fund is that you're approved to fund the loan. It's a green light that allows us to move forward, closing with confidence. It happens after underwriting is complete and all the conditions are satisfied. So here's how to present it. Loan approval is your official yes from the lender. Once we get that, we're in the home stretch. I'm going to keep things moving forward and get you ready for the finish line. I'll make sure the timeline is aligned with closing and keep you looped in every step of the way so you know exactly where we stand and what's next. Next is title. This is a legal check to ensure the home can be transferred to you with clear ownership. It confirms there are no unexpected liens, claims, or restrictions that could delay or prevent closing. The prelim title report is issued shortly after we go under contract. It helps you review the report. I'll help you review the report to make sure everything looks clean, verifying ownership, any outstanding loans, easements, or HOA restrictions. The title company will ensure any issues are resolved before closing. So here's how to quickly present it. You'll receive a prelim title report that shows who owns the home and if any liens are on the home or any restrictions. I'll review it with you so you know exactly what we're walking into. No surprises, just a peace of mind. So I'm showing my value by saying, don't fret, I'm going to be looking at this with you. Assembling papers. All paperwork is signed and notarized and finalized by the title company. So this is a final signing of loan documents and closing disclosures. Makes your purchase official. These documents transfer ownership and secure your financing. Usually takes place 3 to 5 days before closing. I'll coordinate with the title company to schedule your signing appointment. You'll sign documents in person or via remote notary if needed. And I'll make sure you know exactly what to expect so nothing feels overwhelming. So here's how to present it. So this is where it gets real. I'll walk you through what to expect at your signing appointment, what you'll be signing, what to bring, and when it will happen. At this point, you're just a few signatures away from home ownership. Final walkthrough. This is done 24 hours before the keys are handed over to ensure it is in the same general condition as the last time we saw the house. So I let my clients know this is the last chance to view the home before closing. It confirms the property is in the same condition and that any agreed upon repairs have been completed. It's typically scheduled 1 to 3 days before closing. I'll coordinate the walkthrough and walk the home with you to ensure everything looks right and feels right. This is our green light before signing day. Here's how to quickly present it. I'll schedule and attend the final walkthrough with you to make sure the home is in the condition we agreed to. No surprises, just peace of mind before you get the keys. All right, now we're going to closing. Funds have been officially transferred and keys are received. Welcome to your new home. So final walkthrough, signing, then keys. You've made it. I ensure everything goes smoothly. Celebration plus long-term relationship with this client can now begin. Here's how to present it. By the time we reach the closing table, you'll know exactly what to expect. I will confirm your walkthrough, double check every number, and make sure your final documents are clean and accurate. I'm with you until the very end, handing you the keys and making sure you know I'm here long after closing day. My clients become family, and I treat this milestone like it's mine too. All right. Now we go on to presenting the forms like a pro. So make sure you come back for part 3 and we're going to tap into how to go over a duties owed and a buyer-broker representation agreement. All right, welcome back for part 3 of mastering the buyer presentation. We're going to jump into presenting forms like a pro. So this could be required documents such as a duties owed form, a buyer-broker representation agreement. We do want these signed before heading into showing homes, okay? They establish agency, transparency most importantly, and secure your professional relationship. You've earned the right to present these. Don't forget that. This is where a lot of us get choked up. It's so hard for us to ask for the business. But I want you to be comfortable and confident in doing such. We are the guided professionals You spent countless hours studying to pass a real estate exam. You spent countless hours learning and educating yourself, all things real estate, and you work hard for your clients. So don't fall short on the next step. We want to establish a working relationship with them. And again, when you go over piece by piece of this buyer roadmap and inserting your value during each of those pieces, this should be a no-brainer for them. So I want you to have that confidence when we walk into these conversations. So how to say it in regards to the duties owed. Right? So this first form, Miss Buyer, is a duties owed disclosure. It simply clarifies that I represent you as your agent. It outlines my legal responsibilities to you. It's not a contract, just a clear statement that your interest comes first. Buyer-broker representation agreement. This is the buyer-broker representation agreement. It formalizes that I'm your representative and outlines how compensation works. In most cases, I'm paid by the seller. This just allows us to have a transparent agreement in the event a situation arises where compensation isn't offered. Now, if we ever come across a home where the seller isn't offering a compensation, no problem. We'll talk through options together. We might focus on homes that do offer compensation, or we can agree on a custom fair fee that works for the both of us. Now, I also add in, if I'm feeling any resistance, Miss Buyer, I'm sure you can agree that nobody works for free. And as I say that, they're usually shaking their head yes in agreement with me. So I'm never here to pressure you. I'm here to protect your investment, negotiate powerfully, and deliver the experience you deserve. This agreement just ensures we're both clear, protected, and moving forward with trust. If everything looks good, go ahead and sign here, and I'm excited to be on this journey with you. Right, showing etiquette, leading with professionalism. This is one of the easiest ways to stand out as a professional, in my opinion. Showing etiquette goes beyond courtesy. It demonstrates leadership. It sets expectations and frames the tone of the entire experience. So professional presence, let's chat about that for a little bit. Your tone and structure show you're not just any agent. You're the agent they'll remember when it's time to sell. Awareness. From the moment we pull up to the curb, buyers and sellers are watching how we behave. Sellers may have cameras. Buyers are watching you. Respect the property. Demonstrates your care for all homes. I always carry extra booties in my trunk. So if it's brand new carpet, I'm like, you know what? In respect for the sellers, let's go ahead and cover our shoes. I do that, one, because I do care about someone else's home. But when I'm future thinking, I'm thinking these buyers may want me to sell their house one day, and these little gestures are memorable. I want them to remember I'm the agent that will take great care of their house. Okay? Some key pro tips. Don't park in the driveway, ever. We want your buyers to pull up in the driveway and vision this house being theirs. Always knock or ring the door before entering. This shows safety, even if a house is advertised as vacant. Safety first. So my buyers are watching every move I make. I'm knocking, opening the door, saying, hello, buyer's agent here. Use booties or remove shoes if the carpet looks new or the MLS requests it. Let buyers know homes might have cameras, so save feedback for when we're outside. Give buyers their space, but you always want to stay accessible. Provide showing checklists so homes don't blur together. And don't make negative comments about decor or smells. Again, we don't want to offend the sellers who may be watching us on camera. We'll knock first, use booties if needed, and stay professional inside every home. So it's a quick way to set the expectations for your buyers. Ask how to ask for a deal. This is another element where a lot of agents fall short. You guys have done so much work with these clients. You've met with them, you've been nurturing them, you did a killer buyer presentation, and after the home, you want to make sure you know how to, after you show the home, you want to know how you want to make sure you know how to actually ask for the deal. So your presentation is your audition for becoming their forever agent. So show up prepared, speak confidently, and always lead with value. So asking for the deal. Confidently guide your client from browsing to buying. Many clients are waiting for you to lead. Don't leave the next step unclear. Hey, is this the one you can see yourself in? Do you want to make sure no one else grabs it before you? I can put together the offer and walk you through it step by step. Let's write it up and see what the seller says. There's no risk in trying. When the buyer is showing signs of interest, don't hesitate. Our confidence is what gives them clarity and a safety net. Ask with assurance and make it feel like it's the easy next step. So here's a quick wrap up. Building a lasting client relationships requires more than just knowledge. Value demonstration, your presentation showcases your expertise. Client confidence, consistency in your approach builds lasting trust. And trusted partner, becoming their go-to real estate professional. So here's my final thought, my friends. Your presentation is more than information. It's a demonstration of your value as their trusted real estate partner. The consistency on your approach builds confidence and turns clients into advocates and lifelong clients. Okay? You're not just helping them buy a home, you're guiding their journey. This is more than contracts and timelines. It's about building trust, creating clarity, and showing up with confidence when your clients need it most. You're the one who helps them see the big picture when emotions are high, navigate the unknown with calm and certainty, make smart decisions that move them forward, and celebrate the moment they walk through the door of their new home. So you're not just in real estate, you're in the life-changing business. Own your expertise, be confident about it. You've worked hard to get to this point. Speak with confidence and never forget the power of your role in someone's biggest milestone. Thanks for joining me. See you in the next training. Let's wrap up the same way I want you to end every buyer consultation, with confidence, clarity, and commitment to excellence. You're not just walking someone through a transaction. You're guiding them through one of the biggest decisions of their life. This presentation is your moment to stand out, to demonstrate value, show your process, and ask for the relationship. Because clients aren't just looking for information, they're looking for leadership. Here's what I want you to remember. Show up with structure, use your roadmap, use your resources, and don't skip the steps. Speak with certainty. Confidence is contagious, and your buyer needs to feel that energy from you. Always ask for the deal. Don't just hope they choose you, lead them to that next step. The goal isn't to get through the consultation. The goal is to earn a client for life. So go own it. Be the trusted partner, the knowledgeable guide, and the agent who shows up 10 steps ahead, because you're not just in real estate, you're in the life-changing business.